Welcome back, everybody, to the Giants franchise series on Madden 22. We are entering the final chapter of this franchise, having built the New York Giants into a dynasty. Something that is not even on my mind when we start one of these franchises. I just want to get a team competitive and try to win a Super Bowl here and there. But in this series, it's been a relatively smooth road to turning the Giants into a complete powerhouse. We have now won 3 Super Bowls in 2024, 2025, and now the 2028 season. We took a 2-year break, but 3 rings in 5 years, and we continue to dominate playoff games. We have not played a 1-score Super Bowl in this series. And the lack of challenge really is a big reason why we are entering this series' final chapter. It might be the best team I've ever built. That's very possible. I've done 5 of these rebuilds now on the channel. It's really been that many. Cardinals, obviously the Browns is where it started, then Cardinals and Bucks and Texans, now the Giants. I've done 5 of these. And this team has dominated like none of those teams have for an extended period. So what the rest of this series is going to look like is simulating through full seasons. Maybe here and there will be a game that we want to watch, but honestly, other than Super Bowls, I don't really expect that to be the case unless something really unexpected happens. But ultimately now, it's all about wrapping up the stories for all these players we've become invested in over the course of the series. I always like to see where they end up statistically, what records they break, how many championships they win. And yes, that means at some point we're going to do a long-term sim where the computer is going to take over control of the Giants and basically ruin what I've built. They never end up sustaining the success I had with the teams I used. But for now, it's going to be a series of off seasons and single season simulations until we decide it's time to just do a long-term sim and go all the way to the retirement of Brian Petrovsky and maybe a couple other players if Petrovsky retires before them. But I imagine here it could take a while if he's only 29 years old. So what I'm kind of doing with the off seasons now is trying to build the team and do it in a way that I think will keep them competitive long term going into that long term simulation. So how do you do that? It's not easy, but I think you want to take a look and zoom in, or actually zoom out on what holes you could have on the roster within a couple of years and try to be ready in advance for those. So I want to take a look at who we have for free agency the next couple of years, make sure the offensive line stays strong and that we have the weapons around Petrovsky. And this is a situation here where I think it could start to simulate poorly. If Rashawn Graham a couple of years from now is in his 30s, regressing a little bit, and nobody else ends up taking a big leap, then you might have a problem. But I did draft Deion Myers. I think he'll continue to develop pretty well here in the series. Why don't we give him a little route running upgrade here? And we'll have to see how everything else unfolds. I know I want to address safety in this draft class, but there isn't a lot to do. I feel like the team is so good and has such few needs. And that really makes me feel like my work is kind of done in this franchise. So we will have our usual free agent decisions to make then. Dexter Lawrence didn't regress very much. We all know he's very good. Emmanuel Adkins, 28-year-old guard. That's a big deal you got to think about a little bit. Same here for Gresham at safety. We do have a fair amount of money though, so I'm not afraid to spend it. We've been getting older at safety, so I am fine giving Nick Gresham a pretty sizable safety offer, assuming that he still has a chance to get better, but his ratings are in a really nice spot right now. It looks better than they really are because of all these boosts, but I still believe in signing him here to the 5-year contract, and he'll accept it. Of course, we want to bring back Justin Tucker. In simulation especially, you got to worry about missed field goals. But he wants to test. How about franchise tag? Sounds good to me. AJ Cole is also going to be testing free agency, rejecting that offer. We're going to let a lot of these players go, including Frank Sermon. Someone's going to pay him big time. How about Juwan Johnson? We all know how good he's been in this series, but could it be time to unleash Warren Griffith a bit more? I'm actually going to make my own custom offer to him here, and one that I don't expect he will decline. 1 year, $8 million? We'll keep Johnson around. Obviously, I could have probably signed him for less, but he's legit become like one of the top tight end producers in the league, and his overall doesn't reflect it, so the contract doesn't either. We'll check on Jabril Peppers later. He's one of my favorite players from this franchise, and he's got a long history on this channel now, going back to the Cleveland series. As a side note here, like, sometimes things get really confusing for me. Like, my perception of time can be really messed up with some of these players because I'll have used them in a series for a long time. And in the case of using Jabril Peppers in the Cleveland series, that was back like 4 years ago I did that. And so you travel back in real time 4 years to when I was using him in there, and then how long that franchise went on. We throw this franchise on top of it. It does not feel at all like he's a 26-year-old coming off his 5th season in the NFL. Like, this happens to me all the time with players because in my head, it feels like they're old and should be retired now. Now, this last part here is going to be a little tricky because we have Dexter Lawrence, Emmanuel Adkins, but also Matthew Riles, who is pretty weak in the running game here. At least that one rating is. Let's take a deeper look. And he does still have some struggles there overall. It's tempting to try and bring back Riles for less money, because if we end up trying to sign Emmanuel Adkins, then we're down to $26 million. And I usually try to go into the season now with around 8 to 10. So do I want to be in a situation there where I don't have a lot to play with in free agency? I kind of want to see what free agency looks like, and maybe I won't make any more moves right now, but having the chance to sign Riles for 4 or 5 a year is really tempting. I actually think that he's playing the wrong position. He's only 306 pounds. He's definitely a better fit at tackle, I would say. What happens if I move him to tackle here? I wonder what his overall does, because I think he's an excellent fit. And if I do that, he's an 83, and now the demand is up about 20%. We go from 8 million over 2 to 10.4 over 2. I have a player with a really similar skill set here that's already at guard under contract, so I'm probably going to let him test, but I want him to test as a tackle so I can see how big his deal ends up getting. I'm okay coming back to this situation in free agency. The way I look at it, I have like $25 million in spending money for the year, and I don't want to use it now. So if we check out the mock drafts, obviously as Super Bowl champions, we pick 32nd overall. So if we just take a look at what they project, they have us going with the guard, and I am not against just getting a new guard and going cheaper at that position this season. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. And Silvers looks like a good player, worth an individual workout. I think I already know my 3 individual workout players. There are 2 like day 2, day 3 safeties that looked really good as solid 2nd, 3rd round guys, potential day 1 starters. So we're going to move off of stage 1. $37.9 million to spend right now. Let me see if there's any obvious way for us to spend money. If there's a player we should be moving off of. Oh, this would be the year. See, if I wanted to release Azeez Ojulari or trade him, now it would make more sense financially. You still hit get a penalty there. But the way he's played the last 2 years, I'm not as interested. When he had the 3.5 and the 6 sack season, I was like, all right, we're talking like $24 million cap numbers or whatever. We got to think about moving on. But, you know, he played himself into the rest of that contract. So good for him. I don't think there's anything to do here to save money. There's only 2 deals that you really could get meaningful money from, and we aren't doing those. So here's a look at the roster right now. Should we be open-minded about a receiver? Possibly. It's a better fit for the draft, I would say. How about offensive line? This is your starting 5 if we take the field now. Elam, much more of a backup tackle, so I don't think that he is the answer at guard. But if you have one hole at the offensive line, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. If we go to defense now, we don't have Lawrence under contract, so it would be Holt, Bird, Perkins. And all those players are really, really good, it seems, especially Quandre Holt. Oh, by the way, Rashawn Graham. You are still at Star Dev? Are you kidding me? He was one of the top producers in the entire league last season. We'll come back to that. I know like these boosts, like you look at Xavier McKinney as an 89 and you think, yeah, just leave him be. He's an 84. Like he's a 31-year-old 84 overall. We're just getting a boost that hasn't yet like been taken away. Like that's not real. So overalls right now look even more inflated, and they're already pretty high to begin with. We have great edge rushers. We have depth there. We have linebacker depth. We have a capable starting defensive line. +7 here for Ernest Black. Corner is one we should be open-minded about. Samuel's a bit older. We don't have a slot right now because I keep thinking Darqueze Dennard whenever I think of his name. I don't know why. It's Denzel Gordon. That's not even close to Darqueze Dennard. But he was our starting slot. He's not under contract now. So let's go to free agency. And last year, we had Justin Jefferson hit free agency. And this year, you got Quentin Nelson and Emmanuel Adkins. You got 2 of the best guards, Marlon Humphrey, Max with 2 X's, Crosby, Joe Mixon, AJ Cole, Vita Vea. I think I've succeeded in fixing free agency. There's a lot of options now, including an X-Factor quarterback who might get less than 20 a year. Are we sure about that? Bruce Madden. Interesting. You'd think the X-Factor would have a lot more big money attributed to that. If he's 26 with X-Factor, you have to project out his ratings and say that he's got the potential to be in the 90s, and therefore he's already basically worth $25 million a year off that, I would say. So receiver doesn't give us a whole lot to work with this year. I don't think we're going to be targeting anybody at that spot. What do we think about Jabril Peppers as the slot this year? Can you do it with 86 speed, 75 zone? I mean, it's doable, but that is the lowest end of speed you can possibly go, really. I gave him a 1-year offer for $1.5 million. He can play a couple of roles. Dexter Lawrence still doesn't have a ton of interest here, so I'm going to give him an offer, but I want to bring it down to like maybe in the 80 range. Yeah, 78 total points. I'm actually happy with that. I really want to see how good this interior offensive line class is, because that'll help me decide if I want to target that with one of our early picks, and then we can save money at guard. Like, I'm okay if you have, like, you switch out, like, one spot a year. Like, we have the money to go long-term on Adkins, but I know we've already invested so much into the line. So now I'm like, all right, let's go to the other side of things now, and then kind of have this barbell approach where it's solid, high-paid veterans, and then rookie contract guys. So CJ Silvers is absolutely somebody we're going to give an individual workout to. Athletically, decent, I would say. Not that it matters a ton here for the offensive line in Madden. You want solid strength. Solid's actually a little disappointing. So if it's 83, 84, that makes him not as great of a run blocker. But I think that's fine. Probably no sense in scouting Emmett Sheldon if he has top 5 projection. How about Theo Akins here from Oklahoma State? Better strength, younger than Silvers, but I don't have the run block ratings. Not many players are listed at center here that are draftable. We do have a couple options, and Mark Gray looks decent, at least worth putting on the board. I even have some interest here in Cody Richards. Oh, I also like Ty Scruggs. I already had 3 players I wanted to give workouts to, but I might need to dedicate 2 of these spots to guard instead of 2 to safety. Here were the safeties that I had interest in. We have 2 of them. David Addison, a round 1-2 guy, and then Landry Haskins. So 2 Big Ten safeties. Starting off with David Addison here, runs a 4.6. Athletically, not great. He does have solid play recognition, C awareness. I don't know the coverages, but if he has F injury and he's not a great athlete, maybe he misses the cut despite being the higher rated player on the board. Landry Haskins, meanwhile, he's a smaller safety. We know he has good coverage, and he's a better athlete. So I think also F injury, but I'm just going to deal with that. I really factor it in more if I'm taking them in the first round. But if I like the skill set after that, injury is not going to deter me. Everything here is good, by the way. If we check out our current offensive line again, of course, we gave Christian Tolbert the big deal. Basley's in the last year of his big deal, so that's something else to keep in mind. We have Ross on a big deal. No right guard right now. Hal Reed on the rookie deal. So 3 veterans, 2 rookie contracts. That's probably my ideal structure for an offensive line. But what you could do here is just sign Adkins because he's really good, and either have Basley and develop a guy, or trade Basley and draft a guy. I'm not against that. Let's put him on the trade block. But the problem here now is I've let this go this far, so now I have to come up with my offer from 41/3. At the same time, too, I just remembered I don't have a specialist under contract right now at all. Oh, wait, that's right. I tagged Justin Tucker, so I do have a kicker. That's good. And I like AJ Cole, so I want him to return too. The other part now is we don't want to forget about corner and who's going to be that third guy. Darrell Gordon does have an offer out there, so if we were to get him, say, for $7 million, that brings us down to 18 in space. There's also a possibility we could have a reunion here with Darnay Holmes. I give an edge to players I have familiarity with, so that's also an option. Let me sim a week now and see what happens. I have like 4 offers out there. Kinda low offers too. And AJ Cole, Jabril Peppers, and Dexter Lawrence have accepted their deals. So Darnay Holmes is still waiting. If we check the league signings, Quentin Nelson to San Francisco, Emmanuel Adkins to Jacksonville for big money. Marlon Humphrey to Tampa, Max Crosby to Miami, and so on here. So the top guards are out. I'm okay with that. Darrell Gordon goes to the Colts. That's a good deal for him. You still have options here when it comes to backup running backs as well, but I think I want to give Bobby Webster a chance. Might not sim great because of his ratings, but I think if he keeps developing, he'll be fine. I think I actually want to give a solid offer here to Greedy Williams. I think if you put him in the slot, plus you could play him on the outside, like, he'd be perfect there. I could even move Asante Samuel inside as well if I think that he'd be better suited for that in the 3 and 4 wide sets. So I'm interested in Greedy. $8 million offer. And Greedy Williams does accept. So that's more than Darrell Gordon got. But I do think that he is a better player with more upside and a better athlete. So the one thing Gordon had was age, but that's okay. 31 versus 28. Not worried about that difference in this situation. So that really just leaves then that starting guard spot open. And I'm just counting on us being able to fill that in the draft. But we keep the defensive line extremely strong. We didn't have to bring back Lawrence, but we'll give Perkins another year to develop. I know he got hurt last year, missed some time. That slowed down his development a little, but I think 2 years on the bench would be perfect for him. And if we check out our corner situation now, probably just let Greedy play the slot then. Like, Asante Samuel hasn't gotten worse athletically. And Greedy, actually, a good athlete, isn't as athletic as Samuel and Cunningham. And for me, I'm just going off of speed, acceleration, agility, and kind of adjusting for size a little bit. So that's the one thing he's got, is the height. But in Madden, they don't really care. I mean, these guys were shutting down receivers left and right last year. 5th year options. Let's see what we got for this season. Isaiah Cunningham. I think at this point, with how he's played, you pick up the option. The last 2 years have created a lot of confidence. And then for the private workouts, I'm going to be targeting 2 of the guards and Landry Haskins at safety. And hopefully can draft a couple of them. And of course, my favorites board kind of got messed up here. I'm supposed to have CJ Silvers on here, and it didn't happen. And I know there's that one bug with making sure the players you want scouted actually get scouted. So I forgot exactly how to avoid that scouting bug. So I just scouted 3 players who were all on my favorites. There were 3 guards I was interested in, so I just picked a different guard other than CJ Silvers. But now we're going to have a ton of info on right guards Ty Scruggs and Ramon Brown. So they're both power archetype players. Ramon Brown, good awareness, great strength. He's a good athlete. And then F injury for him. But rating-wise, I think that I'd love 2 more of those ratings. I care about run blocking at guard, pass blocking at tackle. But he does look like a solid pick. I think I'd still be comfortable taking him at 32. And then Ty Scruggs. B's across the board there from what we see. Good athlete as well. At least at the pro day. He did not participate in the combine. Okay. And we do know his run blocking outside of 1 rating. I think Scruggs is the guy. And then at safety now, a complete draft profile on Landry Haskins shows him to be a first-round player, and I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. Combine looked good enough. Skill-wise, too. He has C-man, B-zone, F-kick return, but looks to be a potential day 1 starter there at safety. Here is the final mock draft. So let's see if we have any of those players above us now. I don't think that you would see the safety Haskins, but Ramon Brown at 19, Ty Scruggs at 20. So we might have to look into moving up, and I'm not against that. CJ Silvers they have going ahead of our pick as well. So we definitely want to be moving up. Trade offers, by the way, for Chris Basley. Let's see what they offer. A 3 and a 7. That's a future 3, which is about as valuable as a current 4. So, not loving those offers. Probably going to pass. The goals then are to address offensive line, safety, and then I think we can just kind of go BPA, but I wouldn't mind going to get a corner also. Possibly a safety. We could use more depth there. We have the Chicago Bears picking number 1 this season, and they are going to kick things off by selecting Bobby Sharp, edge rusher out of Oregon. Now the Bengals follow and go tackle at 2. They still have Joe Burrow in this series, but they've got to rebuild around him and will do so now with the offensive line. The Raiders go Chad Rogers. It's a right tackle now off the board. Trenches to start and then a quarterback to the Saints. Please tell me it makes sense. 26-year-old, 87 overall. That's who they had, Jake Gates, with normal dev. 15th ranked quarterback. Decent stats. I'm okay with it. 15th ranked and normal dev. I think that's a fine situation to still take a quarterback and swing for the fences in the first round. Now a guard goes to the Dolphins. Green Bay is going with a pass rusher, I would assume. And the Vikings, who are 2 years removed from a Super Bowl, take Marcel McLean. So a lot of offensive linemen here going early, which isn't great for us. Lester Shorts. Then it's Jay Myrick. I think we have to start looking at a trade up in this range, though. I think once we get to maybe the Jets pick, we got to start working the phones. So I know who I like, and it's the 4th ranked available player, Ty Scruggs. My question is now, can I do this without giving up my 2? Thankfully, I have a couple 3s this year. I wouldn't mind giving up both. This won't do it, but I think if I package both 3s and get another pick later, I wonder if that'll work. Because I still like being able... The way I look at it, too, is if you have 8 picks in the draft, you have 8 rookie contracts. And sometimes it's nice to have depth on your team that is on a 4-year affordable contract. So I'd like to be able to still draft 2 players, even if one is extremely late, just to have a chance to add depth at $500,000 a year, you know? And I don't know if the Jets are liking that plan. Oh, the 2 3s doesn't even get it done. So this is the tricky part now. I'm picking at 32, and I'm trying to get 2 starters out of the draft. So trying to keep that second doesn't look great for me. The Jets are playing hardball with me, so I think I'm going to let them pick. Manny Cleveland. We will sim past the Titans pick. John Hobbs. Now we're at 17. I think if I want this to work, I'm going to have to part ways with the 2nd round pick, unfortunately. Why won't these teams let me do what I want to do? Alright. I will not ask for the 7th round pick then. I had to give up a 2 and a 3. I kept our better of the 2 third round picks, so we pick in the 70s again. But if we want 2 starters in this draft, it's not likely now. We move up to 17. I just really liked this guard. And I think that Ty Scruggs is a slam dunk pick. Let's make the pick, turn in the card. Hidden development at guard. 91 strength, 81 acceleration. We got B awareness, A lead block, A run block power. I love that. We didn't have enough hidden development along our offensive lines, so that's a bonus. Really interested in when those guards go now. San Francisco goes quarterback middle of the 1st. And obviously they would have Trey Lance. So I gotta say that this one does not pass the test at all. Let's see. So yeah, superstar dev, number 8 quarterback. Why? I posted a Madden 23 deep dive video today on all the news that just came out about Madden 23. And I talked in there about how the draft logic for quarterback has gotten worse. It regressed again. And I have one theory on why that happened. And I remember a couple years ago or sometime reading a deep dive article about like they changed like the quarterback drafting logic to like, you know, they want teams to not take quarterbacks when they don't need them, but they also left in some special situations after like Kyler Murray was taken in the first round after they took Josh Rosen. And my theory is that trying to allow for Kyler Murray-like situations to occur screwed up the logic to the point where now teams are just taking first-round picks when they shouldn't. That or it's a completely unrelated change that led to situations that we've seen in this series, and we just saw another one where a team takes a quarterback and it never made any sense. The Dallas Cowboys go with defensive tackle Jose Benson. Ramon Brown ends up going at 20, and that was the spot I knew I had to get above after checking out the mocks. I didn't think getting in the mid-20s was good enough, and especially when there's a guy you like in particular. It wasn't a 1A and 1B situation. He was the clear one. So my draft philosophy at times is just go get your guys, because I've had enough situations where I did not do that. Now, I think the Panthers taking a quarterback there was good because Sam Darnold is getting older. He's in like a 79 overall range. Makes complete sense. CJ Silvers is gone here at 30. So regardless, we would have to move up for a starting caliber guard. We did it. And the Falcons end up taking tight end James Gillespie. Obviously now that safety would be my target, and he was projected 2-3, and he's a true first round talent. So I think he's off the board somewhere here in the first or the second round. On the available board right now, you have to scroll a long ways to find him at 46. Our next pick is going to be in the third round, so can I even afford to move up though? That's the problem. I just gave up 3 players to get 1. I can only condense it so much, you know? So we don't pick for a while. You know what I've been thinking about too? What's the Rams like draft season like? They've been trading away so many of their early picks, and they're waiting around a while to draft. And I think they've actually been drafting fairly well as well. Oh, here's some fun trivia. Who was the last LA Rams first round pick? Who do you think it is? It's Jared Goff. That was the last first round pick they made. The year before that was Todd Gurley. Before that, Greg Robinson at 2, Aaron Donald at 13. It's so funny how that's working now, because the narratives a decade ago couldn't have been more different. Building through free agency was laughed at, and there weren't high-profile trades. Really. Like, every now and then you'd have a disgruntled player who wanted out, like Randy Moss in Minnesota or T.O. after a while in Dallas. But, it wasn't common to see big trades. I remember when it was the Chip Kelly deal. He traded Kiko Alonso for LaShawn McCoy, and that was like a really big deal when that happened. And that to me was kind of the first domino that fell, and leading to teams being a lot more aggressive and bold in trying to make trades happen. But what's most impressive to me is that building and being strategic in free agency is a necessity. There are teams that have won Super Bowls being more aggressive in free agency or with trades, and now if you aren't doing that as well, you're falling behind. But you have most teams and their fan bases get excited for draft season. It's got to be different as a Rams fan, because you know picking later you're going to probably have fewer day one impact guys, and you're more likely to get like a wide receiver 3 or a slot corner, or maybe like a later starting offensive lineman. They've made some really good old lineman picks over the years. But yeah, I'm just kind of fascinated with the Rams and their ability to trade picks but still make their drafts count. And I think they've opened up a nice window here to continue competing for Super Bowls. This draft is falling nicely for us right now. I'm actually really surprised Landry Haskins is still on the board, but you know that won't be for much longer as we're in the 3rd round. I might be able to move up now for relatively cheap. Sometimes I shy away from trading away a future pick, but I think this is a situation where it makes some sense. I've already traded away enough from this class. I don't even have a 6. So what if we go a future 5? There we go. So we can actually make this pick and get 2 first-round talents in this class. That is a big win for us. Landry Haskins. And honestly, if you look at, athletically and the size, I know he's got F kick return and that's where the comp ends, but not a bad replacement here for Jabril Peppers. Normal dev. The acceleration and agility are decent, 87 speed. Not quite the athlete of Jabril Peppers, but a solid replacement out of Michigan as well. You gotta love it. So now we don't pick until the very tail end of the 4th round, and we are not moving up anymore. That's enough for one day. I have interest here in a player. So this is cornerback Jamario Hopkins, 6'2", 182. So a tall, skinny build here, and I wish he didn't have that struggles to find ball in the air trait, but really good athlete. Wish the 3-cone were a little better, but great vertical, first to the position, good 40 time, and A tackling with A kick return, just C-man coverage, and I don't know zone, but I wanted to go and get a corner in this class, and he's the one that intrigues me the most. So we're going to take Jamario Hopkins here at the end of the 4th round. I think here in the 5th round, I just want to add some D-line depth. I've been having to sign a lot of players here these past few years, so I'm going to bring in Josh Richardson here, who has a couple good skills and then is a good athlete, and I think he would at least be a solid backup here in the 5th round. And now, one last thing to take care of. Who's going to be Mr. Irrelevant? It is going to be wide receiver Andrew Vallejo from Missouri. He is a really dynamic athlete, it looks like, with the shuttle times and very good speed as well. I think it'll be in the low 90s. Skill-wise, good kick returner, catching traffic. I don't have a lot of information, but that's enough to intrigue me here with the final pick in the draft. And that is going to be our draft class, one that I think I'll be pretty happy with. We got 2 starters, I think, and 1 that has hidden development. So here is the recap of it all. We start things off here. Ty Scruggs, 72 overall, 6'3", 333-pound guard. We elect to start over here and start to develop a new starter, and I think we have a perfect player to do it with really high strength. He's a solid run blocker, and I think will fit in very well. After him, we get lucky and have the chance to take safety Landry Haskins. 5'11", 210, and a 74 overall is pretty solid. I think Haskins is just going to be a solid all-around safety, and that tackle boost isn't real, but yeah, nothing really is super high, but I think he can at least be a solid starter. Both of these 2 players, though, ended up with low injury ratings. Jamario Hopkins was the 3rd pick. We take him in the bottom of the 4th round. 93 speed, 70 man with 63 zone. That man coverage at the 4th round, I think, is really good. Now, his tackling is good, but it's not that good. Like, the boosts need to be taken away here. It's ruining the presentation of the stats. Josh Richardson, 24-year-old defensive tackle. Strong, but needs a lot of development. Wish the block shed was a little bit higher. And then Andrew Vallejo at 67 overall. They have him best fit in the slot, and that makes complete sense. Think he's just a solid special teams player and depth receiver with some make-you-miss ability. I'm pretty happy with that overall. Top-rated player in this class was John Hobbs, a linebacker who went to the Titans. So best player was a linebacker, and one that doesn't cover that well. So everything else is elite, like the run stopping is in a great spot to get his career underway with. That's kind of like them drafting a very similar player, I'd say, to Rashaan Evans all over again. Jamar Turner's a 77, the number 1 overall pick. Bobby Sharp is a 77. So looks to be a really good pick here for Chicago. There were a lot of quarterbacks that went in the first round, and Jonathan Evans has the normal development, or hidden development rather. So the Saints do get that now with Evans. And then again, quarterback ended up going here to San Francisco. Normal dev, Landon Henderson wearing number 23. Interesting. And then Eric McMillan here. I totally missed the Ravens taking a first-round quarterback. Don't think they're ready to move off of Lamar quite yet. Andrew Everett. Kyler Murray has a new backup quarterback. Like, this is just weird. This one made sense, though. Going to the Panthers. Mark Ward. Hidden development. Time to see what you can do after Darnold. Interesting, CJ Silvers was a 73 with hidden development, so a little bit higher rated than Scruggs, but 85 strength to me caps his ceiling. The Falcons in the trade down go all the way down to 32 and get a hidden dev tight end in James Gillespie. 88 speed and a true 85 catching. You love getting that on day one, I'd say. So now you have him and Kyle Pitts. So there is a little change for the roster this year, a new starter at guard, but overall it's still the same team that won the Super Bowl a year ago with a couple of changes here and there. We can think about starting Haskins maybe at some point, but Xavier McKinney is still a pretty good starting safety who makes plays on the ball all the time. So that's going to lead us into getting ready for a full season simulation next episode, and I think that I would sim anything going up to a Super Bowl and maybe watch a Super Bowl if we end up making it again. But I hope you enjoyed the video today. Let me know if you like this, if you want more single season sims. Just kind of seeing what happens here. I'm going to try it out this time, see what the feedback is like and what everybody thinks. But we are getting ready to do a long-term sim sometime soon to end the series. But it's just a matter of how many of these single season sims we end up doing. But thank you for watching today's video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it. And if you want more content like this, subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.